Hello, this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Happy New Year. I am wishing you all a prosperous, healthy, happy New Year 2024. So, as we are excited about the year to come, I wanted to get back to what many individuals are thinking about for this year, and that's your immigration status, your goals moving forward in the United States. And a part of that is the work permit. How are you going to get the work permit? As we enter the new year, and as the last few lives that I did in December, we talked about the pending immigration changes that might be coming. There are a number of developments in right now that could determine, it could determine immigration policy. And right now we're in an uncertain time where we don't know, based on the politics, which way it's going to go. We have an election coming up towards the end of this year, and things are going to be a lot more heated in regards to the immigration rhetoric about the immigration changes that, for example, the Republican side wants to see, versus the on the other side, which I feel like on the Democratic side, while you have some people who are advocating for positive immigration reform, I'm not seeing so much of, they're not as loud as the other side, that they want to implement a lot of drastic immigration changes to limit immigration, um, and to deny entry for people who are trying to get into the country. They are focused on border security. That's a big one. But along with the border security comes all the different issues, such as the crisis with undocumented immigrants right now in the United States, and how to tackle that issue. We have many immigrants who are here that they may have overstayed, they may have crossed the border without permission. They've been here for a while, they've contributed, but they are not getting any paperwork. How do you tackle that? And then at the same time, we do have that constant call for the border security, which I'm not against border security, of course, but we have to make sure that while securing the border, we make sure that we do it in a fair, just way, based on what the principles of the United States, what it was built on. So, seeing that all of these things are happening, while they are debating these issues, what you should be doing is you need to be determining what options work best for you. Now, every option, one option isn't going to work for everybody. And this is where it's so important to schedule an appointment and talk to me, because that consultation is there for you to determine what the best option could be for you. So I would say, don't wait to see what these changes will, because those changes may not be the kinds of changes that are going to benefit you. You need to figure out what's available right now, because right now we still have the same policies in, that the Biden administration implemented when they first came in, and that means that we have a lot more flexibility in what options are available and what forms of relief are available. So the number one question I feel when people are here, you want to work, right? You want to be able to support yourselves. And what enables a lot of individuals to do that, especially if they are here, maybe you don't have your papers and you're trying to figure out how to support yourself, how to get back on track, is to explore that option on how to get the work permit. Now, getting the work permit is not as simple as just pulling up the work permit application off the USCIS website and applying. You have to qualify for some form of relief or benefit. You have to qualify through employment. You have to qualify through a relative, a qualifying relative, or you have to qualify through some sort of circumstance that occurred in your life, or some form of relief that you're applying for because of a circumstance you're in. So, this is what I help my clients to explore which one of these will be right for them. And in cases where you've already overstayed or you're here somehow without your papers, then we look at those alternative options. And the alternative options could either be through family members, through certain qualifying family members, or through humanitarian means. So, meaning if you're if say you have been forced to do work for a relative or an employer, that could be a potential T status, and that's an alternative that can get you back on track and get you the work permit. So with the work permit, it means that you can get status or you get some form of permission to say you can be here and you can work while your process is going through. So let's go through this. Before I go through the options, I'm going to try to get through them as quickly as possible because I do want to get to your questions as well. Um, so before we jump into any of, before we jump into that, I'm going to answer the question that I think you might be thinking right now. And that's, well, why can't, and if I overstay, can an employer do this for me? No. So an employer, the general rule here is the employer cannot petition for you to stay here and get your green card after you've overstayed. So, a tip of the day is if somebody is telling you to come work for them and then they'll get your green card or get your work permit, be very wary because they either don't know what they're talking about, they're trying to get you into a situation that you can't get out of, as in you come here, you start working, then you find out you can't get those papers, they're trying to lure you here or lure you to start working for them, get you trapped in that situation, and then they're working for them without any papers, right? So please be aware of that. That's why you're not going to hear me talk too much about the employment option. Employment option is available to those who they're not here, they haven't overstayed, and in that case, they can be petitioned for. But in the case where you've already overstayed, that's not going to be the case. Now, if you're listening to this and you now realize that you've been duped by an employer who told you to do exactly that, give me a call because that you could qualify for what's called T status as a victim of labor trafficking through fraud. All right. So if you suspect this has happened to you and now it's becoming clearer and clearer as I'm talking, time to give me a call, schedule an appointment, and let's talk about it and get started. Now let's start with family. All right. The other question here is that can my aunt petition for me? No. Can my if you've overstayed? No. Can my I'm The other thing is I'm here. I overstayed. I'm over 21 though. Can my U.S. citizen parent do it for me? Unfortunately, not. They cannot do it for you. The only categories that can help you to get your green card while being here and in the process get your work permit, because remember, we're talking about ways to get the work permit. One of the ways to get work permit through family is your family member petition, the qualifying family member petitions for you. You get the work permit while you wait for the green card, right? So after you've overstayed, there are only certain family members who can apply for you to fix your status and get the work permit while you wait. That's going to be your U.S. citizen parent if you're under 21. So if you're under 21, get on it. before you turn 21. Once you turn 21, that is gone. That option is gone. If you're the parent of a U.S. citizen and the parent of the U.S. citizen is the U.S. citizen is 21 or older, then that is the other option. Then the last option here is if you are the spouse. I think this is the one that most popular one is if you are the spouse of a U.S. citizen, then the U.S. citizen can petition for you. So that's one way to get to the work permit while you wait for your green card. So there's a bigger reward there. You get your work permit, but then you get your green card. Now, what if that relative does not want to file for you? You have this relative, but they won't file for you. Then this is where we need to explore why they're not filing for you. If they're not filing for you because they're mistreating you at the same time, then that could mean you could qualify to apply on your own still based on that circumstance, based on the mistreatment through VAWA. Men, women, different types of marriages, they all qualify for this. And the additional requirement here that you should know about is that this does not even just cover you as relatives of US citizens who mistreat you, but also permanent residents. Permanent residents can apply as well, but there is one catch here. There is a wait list for spouses of permanent residents, and now also children of permanent residents. So that's the catch right now. The wait list isn't as long as the other wait list, but it means that you have to wait a little bit. You can apply for VAWA. You have to apply for VAWA first, but then you have to wait for a little bit. You have to wait for your number, your date to come to the top of the wait list to then go ahead and apply for your adjustment of status to get your green card, but the work permit in the process. But you still have to go through the VAWA process first, the petition process, before you can get to apply for the adjustment of status. And then the other thing is this entire process allows you to stay here in the US while you wait for this process to go through, and eventually when you get your green card. So this allows you to stay even if your relative is a permanent resident. You get to stay here and apply for the entire process. So that is VAWA if your relative does not want, they're mistreating you and they don't want to apply for you. Now, and here's another scenario that you should know about. What if this relative is not a US citizen or resident spouse or parent or a US citizen son or daughter? But they are your aunt or they're your cousin, they're your brother or sister that lured you here to come here. You came here, and then they're now forcing you to work in their house. They're telling you have to cook, you have to clean, you have to take care of their kids, you have to take care of their elderly parents. They're not paying you, or they're paying you very little. And this is not what you signed up for, but you got here, and then you found out that this is what they had in store for you. Then this can qualify you for T status because their whole motive was to get you to work for them. But they just didn't tell you that until you were actually in their house. So we have gotten T status relief. That means a 4-year work permit for our clients that have been in this situation. So this is where it's important to give us a call, talk to me about this, and we can determine what you qualify for. So that's an alternative here if you don't qualify for VAWA. Now, and this qualifies for all sorts of relatives or employers. It could be anybody. It could be a stranger you met on the side of the road that said that they'll help you out with your papers and then started to treat you that way. So anybody who treats you that way, who gets you to work for them and then pay you little or nothing, or holds it over your head, that can qualify you for T, but I need to understand the facts here to confirm. So this is the importance of scheduling the consultation, so we can I can get to understand your situation and get started on your process. Now, now that I've covered the family based, right? If you've overstayed, how to get to the work permit. But let me just touch on, say you haven't overstayed yet. Say you're here, you're on your current visa, you haven't overstayed yet, and you have your relative who wants to apply for you. Can they apply for you? So your US citizen or resident parent can apply for you. Your siblings can apply for you. But here's what you need to make sure you do to stay here: apply for the green card, and in the process, get the work permit while you wait for the green card. You have to make sure that your petition's priority date is current. If your petition's priority date is current, that's a petition your US citizen or resident parent filed for you, and you have not yet overstayed your visa, then you could qualify to stay here and apply for the green card and the work permit at the same time. But you have to make sure that you meet these very specific requirements, or you're going to be in trouble here, right? You're going to not qualify. So that's where you haven't overstayed yet and you're trying to figure out, do you qualify? Um, no, your priority date, this is where if you don't understand what your priority date is, you need to talk to me, or you need to figure out, learn how, what that priority date is. I call it, so when you apply for your petition, you get a special date, right? The date that the application was received. That's called your priority date. And they have a special chart that they update every month or every few months. Right now, we're seeing that updated every couple months. That tells you whether you're at the top, your date has reached the top of the wait list. So if it's reached the top of the wait list, you have current immigration status. You've reached the top of that wait list. It's called the national the visa bulletin. If you've reached the top of the priority date on the visa bulletin, and you are here with your status, with current status, it means you can qualify for adjustment of status to stay here and apply for the green card. The catch here, though, is that it usually means that you're not going to just come here, file the petition. Within a few weeks, you'll get to the top of the wait list, and then you can apply, because most of these wait lists are years long. So that's another hint to tell you, you can't just come here and your relative can't just petition for you and then you apply at the same time. It's going to take years in most cases, years to get to the top of the wait list. So that is the how it works to get to the work permit and your green card through family. And remember that it's only certain family members. Now let's talk about the humanitarian relief that I have been talking about. So we just got our client, for example, our client was the victim of a crime here. So she was assaulted, and based on that assault, which was reported to police, she was able to get the U deferred action. So U based deferred action, the U visa does take 5 to 7 years, but as long as you submit a proper application, what they are doing is they are allowing you to stay here. They give you what's called deferred action to stay here, and then they give you a work permit to continue working and renewing that work permit for those 5 to 7 years until your visa becomes approved. So that is one of the great pieces of news we got, is that our client got the work permit based on the U deferred action. That's one way. So if you've been the victim of a crime, that caused your mental or physical abuse, right? And that means that you are traumatized, it had a big effect on you, then mentally, emotionally, physically, if you're assaulted, then you could possibly qualify for this. With the U visa, U status, we do have to work with law enforcement, the law enforcement agency that's currently looking into the crime. We have to work with them to get a special certification. And then once they certify it, we can submit the application along with a work permit. So that's one way. The T status, which you've heard me talk about repeatedly throughout this live, is the other option. Now, the law enforcement report is not, unlike the U visa, the law enforcement report is not required to be certified for the T status. So it has a lot more flexibility there. However, it is for individuals who have been, you, even if you've been here and you are lured to work for someone, could be relative, could be spouse, could be intimate partner, could be, yeah, a relative who got you to come work for them. If you did not sign up to do that kind of work for them, but you felt forced to do it in some way, doesn't mean they tied you down or they held you at, held you at ransom or anything. That does count, by the way, but it's not required for them to then impose any kind of violence against you. But say they did it by fraud. They told you a lie. They told you they're going to help you to get to school, and then when you came, you didn't end up going to school, or you did go to school, but the condition is you have to, in order for them to send you to school, you have to work for them. So it usually involves situations that you did not sign up for. Now you're stuck in the situation, or you were stuck in the situation, and as a result of that, you're forced to go along with this individual. Could be anybody. Doesn't matter about their immigration status. They themselves could be undocumented, and they get you into this situation. Then that can qualify you for T status. The T status does all give you the 4-year work permit. It brings you up to status, and then you can apply for your green card after you get approved for the T status, or you can wait the 3 years on T status and apply for your green card then. And it is your process. It is confidential. So that is the other option. And then one other option is asylum. Asylum is one of the options that not a lot of people, or I should say this, you don't know about that 1 year deadline. And so that gets a lot of people into problems. With a 1 year deadline, you have to make sure that you submit this within 365 days after your entry. Or if, say, you're here and then you find out that now your country is in big turmoil and you can't go back because you'll be targeted, then that means that there's a changed circumstance that has now caused you to apply for asylum. But if you, upon entry, if you're afraid to go back to your country, it's time to work on getting that asylum application in ASAP. You can apply for asylum even if you came here on your visitor's visa. You can apply for asylum. If you came through the border, you should have been told about the 1 year deadline, and you should have been, they should have asked you about whether you had a credible fear of returning to your home country. If you are here, you came into the country through the border, you need to make sure you explore whether you can apply for asylum within the 1 year, because they're very unforgiving with that 1 year deadline, and they will deny your asylum application. Even if you have a good case, they could deny your application just based on missing that 1 year deadline. Now, one other benefit of the 1 year the asylum is that you can apply for your work permit 150 days after applying for the asylum. So a lot of people who qualify, they don't know about this, and they wait, and then it creates a lot of turmoil because they didn't know they could apply for the work permit. So this is where representation is very important. Just make sure that that you understand that 1 year deadline, and then you can apply for work permit 150 days after you apply for the asylum. So those are some of the ways to get to the work permit. In cases where you have overstayed already, or you're here without your papers, These are the kinds of cases I do look at. So I look at everything and I look at all options on the table. Not a lot of attorneys do that. So a lot of attorneys, they will ask you, do you have an employer who wants to sponsor you? Are you married to a citizen? And if your answer is no, no, then they'll be like, too bad, too sad. We can't help you. But I take it a step further to ask those detailed questions to figure out if any of those options can qualify you here for status here, for your ability to work here through the work permit while you get to your immigration goal of either permanent residence or a long status, like to get asylum here, or to get the T status here, or to get the U visa here, or the green card through relatives or through FAWA. All right. So thanks for your patience as I went through those. I think it's important for you to know about these options. Remember, evaluate your options now. Don't wait to hear what else is going to change in the law before you get on what you qualify for. Right now, I can tell you my prediction is that we are not going to have any fair positive immigration reform for now, especially as we get up to the election. That's one of those topics that's very controversial right now. Right now, the Republicans are using this immigration issue as a way to um, hold the Biden administration hostage on certain policies that they want. So we have to understand that immigration policies may not change for the better in the near future. So now is a time. Um, don't waste any time here on applying for immigration relief where you do qualify for it. Now, we might see positive immigration reform after the election, just depending on who wins the election. You know, if the conditions are right, we could see positive immigration reform that that figures out how to deal with the influx of immigrants, how to deal with those who are here for many years who have no ability to get the work permit, how to deal with them, how to help them to get to their permanent residence or to get to some sort of status. But if the Republican side takes over, we can expect more restrictive immigration policies, and you want to be ahead of that. All right. Now, if you want to get in touch, go to the link in the profile, click on the link. It has your, on the page, you can schedule your own appointment, or you can go ahead and apply. Go ahead and call the office and they will help you to get started, scheduled. We are booking out fast and I really want to help you. So please go ahead and just schedule your appointment. Your appointment may be later on in January, maybe in February by now, but please go ahead, just book it. It's not going to get any better than that. So you want to get in now, get in where you can so we can talk to you about your options. All right, so let's go to questions. All right, so any messages that we got yesterday, those will probably be addressed today because the team is back just today after the holidays. So bear with us and we'll catch up on those messages and get in touch with you. You can always call the office as well if you want to get help sooner than they can get to you. What if you're on H-2B visa and you are trying to get a work permit? How do you go about it? So the H-2B visa allows you to work already, but it does restrict your employment to the single employer that petitioned for you. You can't get the work permit unless you qualify in some other way. Unless you qualify through those options that I listed earlier, you can't just get the work permit being on an H-2B visa because that H-2B visa already enables you to work for that one employer. So you have to explore, what else do you qualify for? Can an employer petition for you to get your residence or get another type of visa? Do you have family members here who you can petition through? Or do you qualify for humanitarian relief that I explained earlier? This is where the appointment is really important if you're serious about figuring out what your options are for the future. 485 taking around 2 years after K1 approved, 2.5. So yes, anything to do with the visa outside of the country, you're looking at anywhere from 2 years, about 2 years, 1.5 years to 2 years. So it is frustrating. So I got denied because my wife didn't come to the interview, but they said it was a legit marriage, but my wife should be there with me. So, I'd have to understand the facts here. Why wasn't your wife there? And is your wife now deciding whether she wants to move forward with the process or not? To understand what your options are going forward with this case. So give us a call and we can talk to you about it. The consultation is $150. So go ahead, call, and go ahead and they will help you with the information and get you signed up for it. I have a question. I'm a permanent resident and have applied for my son to come to the US to work and live with me, but I feel like my lawyer is not doing enough to bring him here ASAP. So you'd have to talk. I don't know what the situation is. Remember now that with your son, if your son is 21 or over, this is a 5 to 7 year process. So I don't know if your attorney has explained that to you. If your son is under 21, now we have a wait list. So it depends. Things might be moving slow, not because the lawyer is not doing enough, but because the process is slow to begin with. He's currently 23, going on 24. And the NVC has again delayed his interview for another 60 days. How can I speed it up? Okay, so it sounds like he's up for an interview. You would have to show some form of urgent humanitarian need for them to speed it up. So this is where you need to communicate clearly with the attorney to figure out a solution here. But when it comes to expediting, remember it's limited. Your options to expedite it, meaning to speed it up, is limited. Can I apply for travel authorization while on VAWA process for emergency travel? No, if you just applied for VAWA alone and they haven't approved you, no. But if you've been approved for VAWA, the VAWA petition, then yes, the travel document is something that you could be allowed to apply for. Now, if you applied for VAWA along with your work permit, then the travel document, you can apply for the travel document too. I am on F1 OPT now in the US. Is there any way I can get an extension? So they usually don't have an OPT extension unless you are STEM. So you and your team are amazing. Thank you. Thanks so much, Def Hay, for this. I appreciate it. Good afternoon and Happy New Year, by the way. Good afternoon. What's the wait time? People get their social and work authorization to get the green card. It depends. So if it's family-based, 3 to 6 months, for a straightforward kind of case. If it's VAWA, then you're looking at 9 months, 8 to 12 months to get the work permit and the travel document. Do you have to marry to get your stay in the United States? No, not necessarily. But what else do you qualify for? That's where it's important to do a consultation. Happy New Year to you, child of God. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's been more than a year I approved and no interview yet from Jamaica. Yes, it takes that long. Do I need a lawyer to apply for a green card for my mother? You'll never catch me saying you don't need a lawyer. You would be surprised how simple cases get ugly and complex when a lawyer is not involved. I want to apply for VAWA. Do I need to have my FBI background check? First, it is advisable you don't need to, but you're gonna get a request for evidence for to get something showing your good moral character. Could you speak a little on the increase on USCIS? So they have proposed fee increases. I have seen the announcement for one type of application, which is, I believe, the premium processing, but they haven't announced officially that they're increasing any other fees. They did previously, but they've delayed it repeatedly. So we have to see, but I think we'll be seeing that soon. So that's another reason to figure out your options because those fees are going up substantially. If you have a work permit and your job is closed for 3 months and employer wants to give unemployment, is that okay? That's more of an employment question. So you have to talk to an employment lawyer about that. All right. So I'm moving through. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and I'm on um, TikTok. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments. I'm scrolling through to answer these questions. I'm going to answer them quickly and then head out for today. I'm doing a K1 visa. Will it take longer? It could. I've seen the K1s take anywhere from a year to a year and a half. So it's about the same as a family based. I give asylum interview, but I'm still waiting for decision. 20 months. What can I do? So those are backed up. And there's other than waiting, or if you do have a circumstance where you can ask them to expedite it, that could be an option. Yes. So I see here, my father was already a citizen, submitted naturalization, and it says I may be a citizen. So yes, you may be a citizen if you're under 18 and your parent became a citizen and you're within the custody of the parent and you had legal status here in the US, then you could be a citizen already. Are you located in, I think PBC might be Palm Beach County. So yes, we're located in Boca Raton, Florida. How long your case take for the NVC? So I'd say a year and a half, up to 2 years. I did interview in 2023 of November, and my case is still the same. So they might be looking at some issues that came up in the interview. So it's hard for me to determine what's going on, why it's taking that long. The paper I got says my interview is in review. So yes, it means that they're looking at some issues in your application. They may ask for a request for evidence. They may approve it after some time, or they may send you a notice of intent to deny. Usually, with my cases, we get it within a day or a week at most. But usually, when it takes that long, they might be looking at extra background, doing an additional background check. Can my US citizen husband petition for my mother and son? Not your mother, but if your son is under 21, You were married to the citizen before your son turned 18, then yes, but your US citizen husband can't petition for your mother. What happens when my spouse leaves 2 weeks after getting the green card? Then if you have a 2-year green card, you need to explore whether you can apply for a waiver to get the 10-year green card. If it depends on how they leave, the circumstances, what's going on, are you planning to get divorced? This is where it's important to schedule the appointment so we can talk about your options. Does a 21-year-old daughter green card take long? She entered she entered when 21. Yes, it's gonna take years. So once she's 21 and you file the petition, it's gonna take at minimum 6, 7 years. What if your child is a green card holder? When you apply for your work permit, how long does it take to get it? And your SSN, it depends. So it depends on how you're applying for the work permit. Employment, family, you're looking at 3 to 6 months. With VAWA, you're looking at 8 to 12 months. Whilst the USCIS is asking me for a fingerprint whilst I am in the state with my IV and have received SSN, I'm not sure. I need to understand more about the situation to understand why they're asking. They might want to do a background check and they're sending it to you to do the background check. Usually that's not the protocol, but I have to get the facts here. My green card was stolen by my wife on Christmas Eve night. I make a police report. I'm so sorry that happened to you. If your green card was a 2-year, you can apply to get a replacement, by the way, through the I-90 form to get your replacement green card. If you have a 2-year green card, you need to explore going from the 2-year to the 10-year green card because you can do that on your own. But I need to get more facts to tell you exactly how to do that. If I have an attorney, how long does it take for VAWA case to approve your work permit or social? So the attorney doesn't speed up just by having an attorney doesn't mean it speeds up your case. However, it can go faster because experienced attorneys, we know exactly what they need to send it in so they can just make a decision very quickly. What I do find is when you're unrepresented, when things go wrong or there's missing information, it's a lot harder to submit, the requirements or to get back on track, and things get delayed. What if I was on the I-130 filing and it was withdrawn? Would that affect me for a tourist visa? It may, just depends on if you can show you have strong ties to your country. Can an F1 get work permit before finishing school? It's possible in some cases if you have a student visa and you show that you're experiencing some exceptional financial hardships, they may allow you to get the work permit. My waiting time was 6 months and now is 3 months. Is that accurate? So it's bouncing back and forth. It depends on what you're applying for. All right, so I'm gonna go to YouTube, answer some questions. Hi, Happy New Year, Sue. Happy New Year, Max. Happy New Year, Lindy. Can you apply for VAWA from outside of the United States? Yes, it is possible to apply. So you would submit the petition. You wouldn't be getting a work permit or anything like that because you're outside of the United States. But if your petition gets approved, then it means you could get an immigrant visa to come to the United States to get the green card. Now, if you lived outside of the United States and you lived with your spouse or you lived with your relative, they mistreated you, now usually you do have to show that the abuse happened in the United States, unless the unless the spouse was in the military or worked for the federal government, then you don't have to show that criteria. If your spouse is green card holder, can you apply for VAWA from outside of the United States? It's possible, but it depends on um, the circumstances. After receiving approval for I-130, what's the next step? If you're outside of the United States, you have to wait for them to send you a welcome letter. You'll have an account with the NVC. They'll wait for your priority date to become current, and then they'll work with you to schedule the interview. How long a father have to wait when filed by his daughter who is a citizen? So I would say that about a year, 6 months to a year. If you're outside of the United States, you're looking at about a 2-year process. Hi, Noreen. Happy New Year. Wishing you all the best. Does the RFE for I-485 have something to do with your work permit waiting? After you do the biometrics, it's an adjustment of status with a citizen. So the biometrics is going to be the most important part for the work permit. So the RFE for the I-485, it depends. It depends on what they're asking for, but mostly you have to go through the background check before any of those applications are going to be approved. The work permit can be approved while your RFE is still pending, so that can still happen. But then the biometrics here is going to be the most important thing. Has been 6 months after USCIS asked me to submit my medical till now for my I-485 after approval of my VAWA since May. What could likely be the delay? They're just backed up. This is not out of the ordinary right now. I live in New York. Do you have any office here? So we don't have a physical office there, but we work with our clients all over the United States and the world. So we don't need a physical office in New York to assist you. Just give us a call and we can get started to help you. Can you recommend some employment lawyers, please? So I wouldn't be able to do that. No, usually I give referrals to those who do consultations with me. Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's. Is the immigration fee gone up and how do you have to wait? You file the I-130, I-485 together after being 18 months in marriage. So get legal advice because that's not correct. There's no rule that says you have to wait for 18 months. As for immigration fees, so they did announce that the fees are going up. I haven't seen any formal announcements that I've seen announcements for fees going up with like the premium processing fee, but that's employment based. I haven't seen them formally announce that the fee is going up yet, but they did announce that in the past. I anticipate that's coming soon, especially with the inflation. So I got I-485 approved in December. When I initially applied, I didn't disclose I had a traffic ticket because driving without a license in Florida will bring problems. When I applied for the I-751, yes, it may, because they may see this as misrepresentation or fraud. No, I don't know what the circumstances are. That will not stop you from getting the green card. So the fact that it's not material, they may not raise this issue. But in this case, you want to be ready. If you had any omissions of information, you want to be make sure you're ready to present that information and the reason that information wasn't included to begin with. However, in cases like this, when I'm the attorney, I argue that this would not have prevented my client from getting the green card in the first place. So it's not a material fact. And so the omission should not be seen as any kind of misrepresentation or fraud. But just because there's a good argument to try to keep that charge away doesn't mean the officer it doesn't mean that the officer won't bring this up or won't want an explanation. So it's important to be ready. This is where representation is very important. If someone files for VAWA and before she gets approved, her first kids become 18, can she file for her? The child has to be 21 to file for her. If someone files for VAWA, okay, so I answered that. How long before you receive a work permit when applying for VAWA? What kind of proof of abuse are they looking for? It's not a one size fits all. We have used all sorts of evidence because the standard here is any credible evidence. So, and which means any believable evidence. So we look at what evidence you have that's available. If you have nothing at all, your declaration, your statement is going to be very important, and it has to be sufficiently detailed for the officer to accept it as evidence and make a decision using that as evidence. What is the waiting time being in the States versus outside the States? So right now you're looking at about 3 years to get a decision on the VAWA petition alone. And then once it goes to the NVC, you could be looking at an additional 2 years to get that interview and to be approved to get the immigrant visa. How long does it take for returning resident visa? From Bangladesh. I'd have to look on the wait times for that. All right, just a few more questions and then I will be out. I'm going to aim to come back at lunchtime tomorrow to answer more questions. So you can look out for me tomorrow and we can talk more. So save your questions for tomorrow if you have additional questions. How do we go about getting a work visa without an employer? That you wouldn't be able to get a work visa without an employer. There are some investment visas, like the E2 Treaty Investor Visa. So for example, in the Caribbean, if you're a citizen of Jamaica, Grenada, Trinidad, and Tobago, the E2 Treaty Investor Visa could be an option for you. But other than that, you wouldn't be able to just get the work visa without the employer. If you file VAWA and you add your children as derivatives, does that freeze their age in the immigration system until approval? So it depends. If say that one of the children they turn 21, they can still move forward. So it does freeze their age, but their wait time to get to the green card is going to depend on their age. What their age, if they turn 21, then it's going to depend. But they won't be excluded, they won't be aged out, but they may have to wait a little longer to get to the green card. Good afternoon. Hope. Happy New Year. How long does it take to get a work permit after marriage? So you're looking at about 3 to 6 months today, right now. Do you have an office in Houston, Texas? So we represent clients in all 50 states and the globe. We have our office is based in Boca Raton, Florida, but we have been thriving for many years, helping clients all around the country and the world with our office in Boca. So no matter where you are, we can help you. So we have clients in Texas, but we do not have an office in Texas. But it hasn't stopped us from doing a good job with our clients. Thank you so much. That answers my questions. I'm glad I could help you. And with that, I'm going to close out for today. Now, go ahead. Don't wait. Schedule your appointment so we can talk. I can talk to you individually because remember, the information here is not personalized legal advice. It's general information. And you want to make sure you look out for your best interests by getting individual legal advice. Schedule, book now. We are booking out quickly, so you want to make sure you're on top of it. Get the date that you can get in so that we can help you, because I want to evaluate your options and get you help. All right. Have a good one. Thanks, Marianne, and Happy New Year once again. For those of you who joined late and didn't hear my well wishes for the new year, I wish you prosperity, progress this year, and I really hope I can help you to achieve that in regards to your immigration journey. Have a good one. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.